you go to Japan the first time?
I went just after high school, so I graduated 2013, yeah, 10 years ago, and then 2014 January, I went there for the first time. So we had a few like international students come to our school who were Japanese.
Yeah.
So I was kind of friends with them, and they went back after high school. So another friend of mine and I were like, oh, let's go see them, you know, like post-school trip type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I went to the Auto Salon. The first time I saw what Super GT was, what Super Formula was. And I thought I was going just to have like a almost like a schoolies basically, you know?
Yeah.
And then
At
I
Auto
went
Salon.
there. Yeah, at Auto Salon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I went there, I was like, what is this world? Like there's heaps going on here in the racing scene. So it just opened my eyes and changed my goals completely after that.
Was Auto Salon in Australia when you went over? Or did we still have it back then?
That's what I was going to ask.
I don't think we had it then,
I
did we?
don't think so.
We
I'd never
lost it?
heard of it actually until
Oh,
then.
okay, so we mustn't have. Because for anyone who's, I guess, maybe late 30s, 40s like us is more, we had it growing up. It was here. I remember going as a teenager and maybe just before because I went to Japan when I was 20. And then it was when I was in Japan, they had it, this was 2008, and I was super excited to see theirs, but their level of what they do in production for their Auto Salon is next level compared to here. And as I mentioned earlier, they had I can't even remember what car it was, but they had a car, the whole livery was diamonds. Like that's their idea of a livery, was like for a big Auto Salon show when, you know, go big or go home. And I was always just impressed with their level. But you're a part of it now, the Auto Salon that's over there, aren't you?
Yeah, so I've been a part of it a few different ways. And I think, was that Diamond Car a Mercedes?
I think so. Because I do, if I went back, I'd have to find old hard drives we're talking about. I'd have to dust off. I have pictures that I took, because this was back just before we had like smartphones where you could take all the photos. So this was all taken on cameras where you had SD cards, and I remember having them in there. But yeah, I remember being there and taking photos of this thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was still there because I saw the Diamond Car in 2014.
Oh,
Two
wow.
Mercedes or something.
Yeah, you want to keep that around for a few years because that's a lot of work.
That's an expensive job, yeah.
You gotta go on about Shogun Automotive. Obviously, is that your current company now, like, or is that a business?
Yeah, it's like my new project basically. And I'll circle it into your question about the Auto Salon. So I've been there for two reasons. One was for Shogun. The other reason was for Honda. So when I joined Honda in 2020, it was part of Modulo, which is a like parts maker. It's like a Honda owned, like Mugen basically.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and so they had their booth there, and then got announced there, and was kind of just there helping out with them and being on display. Type of thing. Yep. So 2020, and then 2023, the start of this year, I opened up a shop at the start of last year, and we made some partners. One of them was G Technic, which is like a coding brand.
Yep.
And so they also have a booth in Auto Salon. So my team in 2023 wasn't in Auto Salon, but G Technic was.
Yep.
So we got like a small like plaque and part of their booth as well. So that's the product side of Auto Salon.
Yeah. Right. What made you get interested in doing that? Because have you got a business partner with you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've seen that on videos. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it kind of started after Honda basically. So things were great there, but obviously COVID came through and then knocked Honda around a fair bit, cut their budget out. They lost some teams, they cut some drivers, and my team also disappeared.
Yeah.
So I went back to running private teams, and I just thought, like, I put 4 years into building up to that spot, and it kind of just got knocked away for no real reason other than just financial. And it's just a bit unstable, you know, to base my whole like stability in Japan off of that. Now, obviously I found a great team next year and the year after that, not in Super GT, but in Super Taikyu. But
Super Taikyu?
Super Taikyu, it's like an endurance GT series.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So kind of like our Australian GT Championship? Is that what you're kind of looking at Supercars the other week? Like, was that what you're trying to get a
that
gauge
was
of?
GT World Challenge. So that's still like sprint racing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Super Taikyu, it's actually endurance. So we have like a 24-hour race, an 8-hour race.
So like our 12-hour and 6-hour.
Like a series built around that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Maybe, like something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was just like, it's pretty stressful, you know, like being over there for so many years and having ups and downs and stuff. And some of it's in your control, but some of it's not. So I thought, well, I have built all these connections up in Japan. Like I'd networked a fair bit through racing. I knew a few of the brands as well. Because one thing in Japan is a lot of the teams that are running there are actually like the parts makers, like Endless. They make brakes, or Modulo, which was my Honda team. So I was like, damn, I have quite a few like brands connections now. So I thought, why not just like build a shop around that, start to build up something on the side where I can just plug in my racing contacts and then create like an additional level of stability in what I'm doing out here. And then that's how it started, basically.
Art was basically telling us yesterday that like every team is like to a T, like perfect, like an F1 team, like the way that they set up their gear. Like you don't even know that someone has less money than the other. You know what I mean? Like even the rear guys, like, you know, the guy in last place looks the exact same in the pits as, you know, the guy leading the championship, or you know what I mean? Like it's very, the way everything in Japan's done is very clean and efficient, and you know what I mean? Straight 180, perfect to a T. You know, there's not a grain of dust anywhere on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, you do feel like none of it feels like it's done out of the back of the truck type of
that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
And generally, because it's a lot of that's because the shops are involved, like the brands are involved. So they can't have an image of like, we've just thrown everything out of the truck, it's on the ground and we'll just put it on the car when we need it. It's a little bit of a presentation for them too on like how we operate. This is how, you know, tidy and serious we take our racing. So our product's going to be like that too. So that's kind of why. But I would say there's still like a decent amount of variation, because some teams are manufacturer, some teams are private. And then Super Taikyu, it's got like 60 cars in it. So you've got even teams which is just full AM set up with people who they're running in like some of the lower classes, like the Honda Jazz and stuff as well. So you've got like that level, and then you've also got like D Station, which is my team, which run in WEC and stuff. So there is a fair bit of a gap sometimes. But it's nice to see that your average team is pretty like tidy, pretty structured. Yeah.
I did my first night race last night, and you've obviously done a lot of GT, you know, a lot of stuff since we've raced cars in Formula Ford.
Right.
So how did you get into that mindset of just, you know, a certain, like when did you hop in, or how does that all work from, you know, from an outsider's point of view to in the pits, you know what I mean?
Like how do I switch into the mindset?
Yeah, you know? Like the mindset, and you've got a driver coach, don't you, as well? Dave Diggle, who's
so funny thing about Dave is he's actually not a driver. Yeah, he's a performance psychologist. So his background is basically the science of performance, the science of focus, and he's got like a neuroscience background and a psychology background, and it's just tailored around like how to get the most out of yourself, how to be more consistent. I'm sure you have days, right? And even maybe it was like last night too, it's like feeling tired, or some days you just feel off. I remember like back in the day for me, some days I'd feel like I'm on it and I'd drive really well. And then the next day I'd turn up and be like, I'm just not feeling as on it today. Just working out how to be on it all the time and that kind of thing.
I definitely felt like that the other 2 nights. I had Friday, which was my off day, and then, you know, Saturday, which was my good day. But yeah. So go on with Dave.
So I kind of had this habit actually back in go-karting, whereas basically I'd just end up binning it in the pre-final, and then I have to come from the back and then drive like my best race ever. Yeah. And I think it's because I'd mentally taken all the pressure off, and not that I was crashing on purpose in pre-finals. I think I was trying too hard basically. And then I kind of just found out like how I can operate like that all the time. Like the way I drive the final, I want to drive practice and, you know, the heats and all that as well, the same way. So I was just learning how to do that basically.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Brooke, you got anything?
I think
it's a bit uncharted territory, I think, in a lot of sports. Yeah.
Because Brooke's done jiu-jitsu and like long distance swimming and stuff like that. That's why I said to you, Brooke, like,
I know. I've had sports psychology as well with the swimming, like you said, the long distance stuff and having to think through all of that. And I think, how long, so with what's the longest race you've done? You mentioned there's 24 hours in that in Japan. What's the longest you've had to go?
It's been 24 hours.
I've done
a few of those. Yeah.
Yeah. And then how have you, in terms of your preparation, there's the mental side you've talked about. Do you do any other sort of training? Because I did see online in your profile that you're a black belt in Taekwondo.
Oh yeah, that was on there, right?
Yeah. I know. And you could, I think you've scored yourself low in karaoke. 3 out of 10. I don't know. I was like to Dan, I think he's been harsh on himself. I bet you he's like a 9 out of 10. He's lying to us all.
No. Trust me, you don't want to see it.
That was an impressive driver profile, by the way.
Oh,
I was actually entertained by your website.
It was
great. Yeah, it was great.
I think it was really well set up and everything. It was entertaining, like you said, to read. But do you use Taekwondo and that to train for it, or is there other sports you're doing, or gym, or how do you prepare for the 12-hour?
Yeah, Taekwondo was
Or 24.
something I did. Yeah, something I did back sort of in the karting days as just like another like, I don't know. I think it's the same as racing. You kind of just have like a goal. I wanted to get to black belt, and then you just like keep improving yourself to try and get there. And I think I could bring some of that across, because one thing that I learned through the process of that was like the structure. You know, like there's like forms, right, for Taekwondo, and you have like a pattern. So you have to do like a pattern to graduate to the next level. And I think racing, it's a little bit less structured, but being able to bring some of that structure in just on like your debrief process. This is stuff I learned from Dave as well. It really fit together well.
Yeah.
Just enabled me to improve that consistency basically. And I think it's become like a strong point for me as a driver now, just consistency in general. But back in the day, it wasn't really a strong point for me. I was kind of like the guy that would turn up and be quick one day and then, you know, struggle to replicate it basically. So yeah, I think that's come across pretty nicely.
Have you also learnt anything from your teammates, like the Japanese teammates over there? Do they have anything that they would do differently, maybe you've seen in how they prepare, or how even on a long race weekend that we might not be doing here? Have you seen any things that, because I know they do, every culture has a different way of looking at things and doing it. But have you found anything that you're like, yeah, that's really helped me over there?
I would say it's kind of similar. I can't really think of something that stands out different on there. I think like Super GT is quite international.
Yep.
So it's kind of that baseline is kind of there in America, probably here in GT World Challenge as well. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's good to know.
Cool. Now, I found this interesting fact, which I spoke to you offline about out of the studio here. But did you win the WA State Championship in Formula V?
No.
Can you tell us those experiences?
This was like a free stat that I got on the database. So I actually emailed the guys because I saw it too. So it says, I think it's 2011.
Yeah, apparently you won in 2011 in the WA State Championships.
Apparently, yeah, WA, opposite side of the country.
I literally wrote on here, I had no idea that you won that.
I didn't know either, yeah. So I think it was like 2015 or something. I saw the database and I was like, oh, wow, they have like, you know, drivers' stats on here. So I checked it out and I was like, WA 2011 Formula V champion. I was like, I didn't do that. So I don't know how it got like grouped in there.
Yeah. And it's a very random state as well.
Yeah. Literally the furthest away that I could have been.
There's some poor Jake Parsons in WA going,
just got his title robbed, basically. Yeah. So I actually emailed the database because they didn't count my Formula BMW championship.
Yeah,
so
right.
I was like, hey, my Formula BMW title wasn't counted. And actually this one was counted. So I thought, like, you know, not some guy saying, just give me a title type of thing. Like, I'm trading a fake one for a real one. Yeah. But I didn't get a reply. So I thought, oh, it just is what it is then. I'll keep it, you know?
Yeah. Before we get into your Formula Ford stuff, so we did CRK Stars of Karting together.
Yeah.
What did you think of that era of karting? Because now it's also now merged in with the Australian Karting Championships. Like it was like I guess they were trying to get karting back then mainstream in a way, like with Castrol Edge and, you know what I mean? You were racing Joey back then, which a lot of people don't know that, you know, now that you're in Japan, but you've actually raced like, you know, top 10 drivers.